Let's talk some Florida Gator recruiting because the Gators are red hot right now. They just flipped another top recruit from the rival Seminoles, but the Gators, they might not be done yet. I got Keith Niebuhr from Gators Online. We're going to go behind the scenes, a few key recruitments here. We're also going to get intel on five-star wide receivers Jaime Ffrench and Dallas Wilson. Coming off an exciting weekend in the Swamp. Gator fans, do me a favor right now. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We're talking Florida Gator recruiting all year round, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Keith Niebuhr. Busy time for Florida recruiting. I want to start with the five-star wide receivers, Dallas Wilson, Jaime Ffrench. You had a chance to speak with both of them in person over the weekend, and I just wanted, what's your opinion on both of these five-star flip targets?
Yeah, first of all, I'm clutching to my phone because we tried to record earlier and a commitment happened. Like Josh said, Florida's red hot right now. Their recruitments are getting wild. Commitments are happening left and right. But Jaime Ffrench, you asked about first?
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
So,
take on Ffrench first.
You know, that was a visit that Florida's been working on for a long time. He's been committed to Texas for a while. They never really gave up, never threw in the towel. And Florida was able to get him on campus. And what was significant about that was, for starters, his quarterback at Jacksonville Mandarin, Tramel Jones, decommitted from Florida State last week and then committed to the Florida Gators this weekend. They were on official visits together. They are very close friends. So that gives Florida some hope. Also, there's a belief that proximity to home is potentially going to give Florida a boost at the end. As far as we can tell, Jaime Ffrench is a little conflicted right now. I think Texas still feels some bit of confidence in holding on, but Florida certainly believes it's in a better spot than it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, trending in the right direction. Jaime is going to do what's best for him. So while he is close with Tramel Jones, the new Gators quarterback commit, that's going to help Florida, but it may not be enough to get them over those final hurdles, but it's certainly a factor. He's also very good friends with another Florida commit, four-star receiver Vernell Brown III. All those guys are on the same 7-on-7 team. So Florida is pushing hard here and giving him something to think about. What we don't know is is he going to show up in Gainesville this weekend for the Florida Ole Miss game? If he does, I would say then we're really going to be watching him closely.
Yeah, we're cooking if he shows up for that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Dallas Wilson does plan to show up for that one. A bit of a surprise seeing is how Dallas Wilson said, I'm coming to the game so many times this season, only for Dallas Wilson to not show up at the game, but he did for the LSU victory. So he returns this weekend. This is an official visit this weekend?
It's supposed to be an official visit. And I say everything with Dallas Wilson, Josh, is tentative. He was going to visit Florida last week. Billy Gonzalez, the receivers coach for the Gators, went to his game Friday night. I was there. He told me after the game, I'm absolutely going to Gainesville the next day. Early in the day, we got word he wasn't going to Gainesville. Then he was. Then he wasn't. Then he apparently didn't show up. Then after the game, we found out he did show up. So, Josh, that's kind of Dallas Wilson's recruitment right now in a nutshell. We know that he loves Oregon. He absolutely loves Oregon. There's no question about that. But he's got a big family. And, again, this is another one where proximity from home could be something that gives Florida a potentially significant edge here toward the end. Now, again, he's supposed to officially visit this weekend. The game's at noon. He has a game Friday night in Orlando. He may not get back to Tampa till after midnight, okay? Is he going to want to get up the next day? I mean, there's he's a different kind of dude, and I think that's why people like him. He's an energetic personality, but he kind of beats to his own drummer, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So if Florida gets him back on campus this weekend, I would say that's significant. He's really starting to feel Florida. And both with him and Jaime Ffrench, the emergence of DJ Lagway as Florida's starting quarterback is something they're really watching closely. And Josh, I should point this out, getting back to Ffrench. I was told that Ffrench was really impressed with Lagway's passing in the win over LSU because he was limited and couldn't run. So everybody thinks, well, he's a dual threat guy. Well, Jaime Ffrench wanted to see him win with his arm, and he did, not his legs. Didn't run one time in that game. So the Lagway effect is also significant for both these guys. Proximity to home is significant for both these guys. But look, they're committed to outstanding programs and to coaching staffs that certainly know what they're doing. So Florida's got its work cut out. But look, they're swinging, and they're in the ball game with both, Josh.
Yeah. No doubt. And, much like Ffrench, I too was impressed with Lagway's performance through the air on Saturday night. So, Keith, I know this isn't easy. It's an uphill climb to flip either five-star, but having you been around both of them personally, who would you say the Gators are in better shape with after talking with them?
Can we edit this part out later? No, I'm kidding. But I think maybe Dallas Wilson. I'm sure whatever I say it'll be the opposite.
It's just your opinion. And like I said, I don't feel like either of them are on the verge of flipping. I just know that you were around them both, and I just wanted to see what you had to say.
Well, so Dallas Wilson's got a kind of a big family. He's got brothers, sisters, grandparents. And, no matter how much you're getting in NIL, it's a lot of work to get across the country. Does he want to pay for all those people to go see him play? Do they want to travel that far? Josh, sometimes, he's very close with his grandparents. I know a lot of people grandparents' age that don't like flying. So, there's all those factors. So at the end of the day, and also I think it's worth pointing out, he's from Tampa, which historically has been a very good city to the Florida Gators. Sure. It just has. So I think there's a lot of things working in Florida's favor. He's very close with the receivers coach who I mentioned earlier, Billy Gonzalez. Florida thinks he can play really early. They think he's physically ready right now. So to me, that would be the one. But again, he loves Oregon. Yeah. He does. If he breaks it off with Oregon, it's going to be a difficult phone call because it's not anything they've done wrong. It would simply be Lagway, close to home, family being able to come to see me, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? You almost feel bad for Oregon if that happens because they've done everything right with this guy.
All right. Now, this is the part of the UF segment where we were going to talk about 2 FSU flip targets, but when we sat down to tape this video, Daniel Pierre-Louis took himself out of this segment by committing to Florida. So we'll just talk about Solomon Thomas right here. And Solomon Thomas was probably the one FSU offensive lineman that we felt heading into the weekend that might not even visit Florida, and that the Gators had more work to do than they did with Daniel Pierre-Louis. But Solomon Thomas shows up to the Swamp for that LSU game. What are you hearing coming out of that?
Yeah, he didn't really want to talk. We're not hearing a ton. I mean, we think Florida, from what we're told, Florida feels like they had a good weekend. Some other guys that are committed to Florida feel like Florida did a good job there. But again, he's not talking. This is going to be a tough recruitment. I mean, he's telling people, look, I know Florida State's struggling, but maybe I can be the guy that helps turn them around. We know LSU's still in the picture. There's some people think that he might be at LSU this weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a lot of moving parts. Like anybody, Josh, we're talking about this late in the cycle, this, there's a lot of moving parts. And that's why we can't always give definitive answers. In July, it's a lot easier when you're talking about a guy because he's probably getting close to picking a school. But Florida's pushing hard. He likes Billy Napier. Very close with their new quarterback commit, Tramel Jones. He's going to be working on him hard. Vernell Brown's going to be working on him hard. Billy Napier's going to be working on him hard. Now, the other question is, if Florida's going to make a big run at some of these 5-stars, Josh, you got to have the money these days. You got to have the NIL aligned, and that's an element we don't know. I mean, he's going to command a pretty high value, obviously, Solomon Thomas, because
he said it. Right? Yeah. I mean, he said it. He said, I had a great relationship with Alex Atkins. Nobody else is going to replace that. But now that Atkins is gone from FSU, he said, you better step up to the table, meaning this is going to be a business decision. But on the flip side, that means anybody could get involved with it.
Potentially so. Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's a little bit of growing optimism coming out of Gainesville. I mean, they're working on some other offensive linemen too. Jahari Medlock, the Cincinnati commit. Yeah. And another big one. The big one really is Tavares Dice, the other big offensive lineman committee. He's committed to Auburn. I think Florida's making some traction with him too. But Solomon Thomas would sort of be just a huge one for Florida. They got the number 24 class right now. But again, so many things have to be aligned. I just don't know right now where they're at.
Hey, just keep winning. It seems like the one thing that has gotten UF recruiting hot is these wins. So I think if they just keep winning to end the season, I think UF recruiting is going to ride off into the sunset.
Well, he was at the game the other day with his mother and I believe maybe an aunt. And so, again, proximity to home. I mean, that's what's always helped Florida. That's what's always helped Miami. That's what's always helped Georgia. You're right in the middle of everything. So I think those could give Florida an assist too. But again, like he said, and I was beating around the bushes, somebody's going to have to come up with a pretty big situation to get him.
That's how it is with all the 5-star offensive linemen.
Well,
I mean, it's not a secret.
And that adds an extra layer to all the recruitment. So there's what the kid says. There's what your sources at a particular school tell you. There's what Uncle Fred tells you. There's what Aunt Betsy tells you. There's what the high school coach tells you. But then there's also what the wallet tells you, right?
Yeah. Right. We used to always say, follow the visits, right? Follow the visits, follow the visits. It'll lead you.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we're at. But again, if a kid's visiting over and over and he's saying good things about a school, you can then deduce from that that things are being worked out to be able to get that kid, you would think. So
yeah, you're right. There's code words for that, I guess.
I don't have a true feel for him one way or the other. It's going to be interesting to see. I hate when people say that because that's not really – you're not really saying anything. But let's see where he shows up this weekend. That could tell us a lot. Then next weekend, because – this weekend, Florida plays Ole Miss at home. I think LSU maybe plays Vanderbilt at home. FSU plays Charleston Southern. But next weekend, FSU plays Florida. Okay? So, but he's not talking right now. He's a guy that always talked. That tells me, Josh, he's feeling some pressure right now because he's one of the nicest, most courteous young guys in this class, highly intelligent, super student at Jacksonville Range, one of my favorite schools in the entire country to go to. Very popular at the school. I've been there and seen how people gravitate toward him. And he's feeling it right now. If he's not talking, that tells you the weight of a recruitment on a young man's shoulders as you get this late in the cycle. So obviously everybody's pulling for him because he is a really good dude.
All right. So moments ago, Daniel Pierre-Louis off the board. He flips his commitment from FSU to UF. Keith, what if his teammate linebacker Ty Jackson shows up in the swamp this weekend?
Well, they're working on it. They never stopped talking to him. Obviously, he was a Florida lean, we all thought, in August.
And there was a period of time, don't get me wrong, in the spring and summer where you guys were saying Ty Jackson was the most important defensive recruit on the board at the time.
Yeah, don't remind me of that being wrong there. But, but he went to the Florida-Miami game. Not only did they get beat pretty bad, Josh, the atmosphere in the swamp that day wasn't great. Yeah. He goes to Southern Cal, I think either the next week or the week after. I think it was the next week, and committed while he was out there. But Florida never stopped recruiting him. They always believed that they could put together something as the season went on. They thought they were a much better team than they were earlier in the season. Now, again, this is a big-time linebacker. This is another one. It's not going to – you better have your NIL aligned with everything else. But they've been working on him. They wanted him to come last week. But Ty is a family guy, Ty Jackson's a family guy. Josh, excuse me, you're not Jack. And his brother plays for Kaiser University. And they had a game last week down in West Palm Beach, so he went to the game with his family to support his brother. You got to love that. But this week, Florida's hoping they get him on campus, and we'll have to see. I think if he shows up, then that's going to be an eye-opener. But right now, at last check, all we've gotten is a maybe out of that one.
All right. Well, it's still early in the week. All eyes are going to be on that Gators Online visit list. It's at 1.0. I saw you guys put a 1.0, so I know that the visit list is still going to grow. You guys go check it out.
Hope. But Josh, it's you're not Jack, you're Josh. I can't believe I called you Jack. But the funny thing is, these visitors lists generally do get bigger and bigger and bigger. But this is a noon game, and you know this. You did my job for many years before you moved to a position above me, Josh. A noon game sometimes. Gainesville's 2 hours from a lot of these metro centers. Tallahassee was even further. It was kind of like a lot of times you got a lot of maybes. You got a lot of maybes because kids are like, oh, man, I don't know, man. What time do I have to wake up to get there, to beat traffic? There was a big traffic accident last week on the way to Gainesville that caused some people to get there late, Josh. So it can be tricky. But, yeah, keep it. We'll keep updating it throughout the week. We expect there to be more big names. Sure, it's a good marquee game.
And I'll keep checking back. Gator fans, talk to Keith and I. How are we feeling about recruiting? It's finally coming alive right when it matters most. Who is your most important target still left on the board? Let us know. Comment section below.